listening to TMZ Movie Crashers.
Welcome back to TMZ's Movie Crashers. I'm your host, Fabian Garcia from TMZ.
I'm your host, Paige Catton from toofab.
And first of all, it's good to be back.
Good to have you back.
Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate that. We usually say this, that it was a very busy week in movie news, that there was a lot of movie news. That actually wasn't really the case. At least not up until today. Up until today, it was very slow in the movie news world.
I mean, it was a holiday weekend. It makes sense, but like it was total like 180 from what we've been getting. Usually like we're inundated with content, and then it was just like, what are we going to talk about?
True. Yes. But today, sure enough, a ton of stuff came out. So let me quickly address what we're not going to talk about.
Yes.
We're not going to talk about Viola Davis's the trailer for her new movie, which I think is called The Woman King or something like that, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
The Woman King, where she plays some kind of like African tribal leader of like all women warriors or something. The trailer for Amsterdam also came out today, which is
Stacked cast.
That's the one with Christian Bale, Chris Rock, John David Washington, and Margot Robbie. Also Taylor Swift making her, I think, her first dramatic appearance in a movie. And this is the director.
Cats, come on.
Yeah, no, that doesn't count. But this is the latest offering from, I think, is it McKay or no? What's the director?
David O. Russell.
There we go, David O. Russell, who did Silver Linings Playbook and also American Hustle. It's kind of like a whodunit, kind of like crime, mystery, murder, thriller thing. We're not going to talk about that. We're also not going to talk about Tom Hanks apparently maybe backing the outrage over Tim Allen not being cast.
I heard it was a joke.
It was a joke. I saw the clip. All the headlines are being completely taken out of context. Tom Hanks is not outraged. He's totally joking. And yet the headlines are like, oh my God, Tom Hanks calling out Disney for not getting Tim Allen. That's not the tone he took. Go watch his interview. It's nothing like that. But yes, we're not going to talk about that either. What else are we not going to talk about? What else came out? Oh, we're also not going to talk about James Cameron. He wants you to apparently take pee breaks for very long movies, one of which is going to be Avatar 2. And this weekend he kind of came out firing at people who might complain about that. So he preemptively got ahead of the outrage for long movies. The solution to that, of course, is just bring back intermissions. We're not going to talk about that though. Where we are going to start though is with the big motion picture. And this is all about Minions 2, I guess. Minions 2, The Rise of Gru. Yeah, The Rise of Gru, which is the sequel to Minions, which I guess is like a prequel / spinoff
of Despicable Me.
Despicable Me, right. So here's the deal.
Gru's origin story,
correct. This is when like the character's a little kid. Steve Carell's voicing the character. The movie, first of all, I didn't see the movie. I don't watch those stupid ass kid movies. That's not me. That's not what I do. But the movie apparently did very well at the box office this weekend. Very well. It crushed a 4th of July holiday weekend record. I believe it hit $125 million roughly in the domestic box office, surpassing one of the Transformer movies. I don't remember. It's like Dark Side of the Moon or something.
Which is insane.
Right. It passed the Transformers movie from like years ago that held the record before that. Now the new record holder for 4th of July weekend for domestic box office is this Minions sequel, which is nuts because first of all, again, like these like silly little kid movies, I can't get behind them. I don't have any kids. I'm not interested in that kind of content at all. But
it's during a pandemic, which I'll talk more about that.
During a pandemic. So people came out to see this movie in droves. And even though I was not excited to see it, we have to talk about it. The reason we have to talk about it because there's a viral phenomenon that was going on with this movie. Yeah. And of course, we're talking about #GentleMinions. And
so insane.
So you know what? Before I even explain or describe it, let's just play a quick little video. One of these TikToks that has gone viral depicting what the hell this is. Let's just take a look to see what #GentleMinions is. So there it is. Essentially what it is, it's teenage boys mostly, either teenage boys or young men in their very early 20s or something. They apparently go out to the theaters with their friends. Everybody's dressed in like suits, like suited and booted, like they're going to prom or something. They show up in droves. They do the little hand gesture. They scream and shout at the theater when it's playing, at the movie when it's playing. And they cause a big fuss, apparently, at least to some people. I don't think every single group is doing that, but that's kind of the gist of what it is.
For sure. And just to emphasize how big this is and how viral. So a Variety did an article over the weekend. I think they said it had like 5 million views on for the hashtag. I checked today, 24.5 million views on the hashtag Gentle Minions hashtag on TikTok.
Wow.
24.5 million views on these. Which is insane.
Yeah, it's nuts. But
that's views. It's not like there's actual videos, but just people. Still,
the fact
a lot of people.
That's
watching
a hell of a lot of
videos.
people, and that that obviously speaks to the power of TikTok in general,
100%.
and just the kind of online / viral world that we live in these days.
Exploded.
But for this trend in particular, look, like on the outset or from the outside of this, like it looks pretty harmless, right? It's just a bunch of kids going out to the movie. They're dressing up. No harm in that, even though I think that's super lame, to be honest. That's just me poo-pooing it. But
you were cooler than that, Fabian.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. But whatever. If people want to have fun and get excited to go see a movie, fine. This just seems like a harmless way to do it. But there apparently is some harm in what some of these groups, and I don't know if it was here in the US or in the UK. I was reading different reports of both, but apparently, like you saw in this video that we just played, some of these gentle minions were going into theaters and literally hooting and hollering throughout the whole movie, and as if they're like interacting with the movie as if it's some kind of like an opera or something like that.
I even heard reports that they were throwing things.
Yes, and that, you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of you know the movie The Room, like that very cult classic movie. Do you know what I'm talking about? The Room. It's like Tommy, what's his name? Tommy Wiseau or something like that. Like
yes.
Yeah, it's like it's the one where James Franco, disaster artist. Yes.
I know that is. Okay,
when that movie was first going like viral, pre-viral days, like back in like the 2000s or whatever, when that movie was being screened around LA, it was a thing for people to go with their friends to that movie. And because it was such a joke in and of itself, people would like interact with them. There were moments where you like throw spoons at the screen. It was like a whole thing. And that's kind of that seems to be kind of what the minions, the gentle minions, are doing with this movie. And it's bothered people. It's interrupted their viewing experience. It's caused a lot of problems. Yes. And theaters, apparently some theaters, they've posted like signs outside of the doors and the windows saying, we're not going to let anybody in here who comes in with a suit or whatever. Like we're banning that. Some theaters have taken the extremes.
Yeah, there was a viral tweet from like a sign outside a theater in the UK that said like, if you're dressed up in any kind of formal attire to see Minions Rise of Gru, like you can't come in.
Yes, I saw that. And honestly, for those theaters that are doing that, good. Because rowdy people, I don't care what the event is or what the occasion is, rowdy people are they shouldn't be really allowed anywhere. You know what I mean?
Especially for a kid's film.
Yeah. And I want to say something too real quick about kids in theaters these days. Cause like, these are teenagers / young.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I consider it's all falls under to me, the umbrella in the category of just kids. Kids are actually out of hand at theaters. Well, I went to go see Jurassic World, the new one in theaters. And I saw it in my hometown in Sacramento. I was up there at the time. And I saw it, and there was there was like a whole row next to me of like teenagers, like young teenagers, like 12, 13-year-olds. Yeah. And they were talking and chatty throughout the entire movie, like obnoxiously so. And at one point there was no adults with them, no supervision. So eventually I had to kind of peer over at one of them who was like right next to me. Like the adult was like, hey man, stare him down. I was like, hey dude, like
stare him shitless.
Yeah, I was like, hey, do you mind? Like,
yeah.
And then he looks at me and goes, oh, guys, shut up. Like, but it's just, that's how like tone deaf and like, I don't know if they're just not self-aware, but like this generation of movie goers, this is not a good sign for them. I got to say, like this gentle minions thing, even though again, it seems kind of innocent and like whatever on the outside, maybe it's a little more sinister. I think it kind of speaks to just like the bad etiquette that these kids tend to have these days. Kids are bad. Kids aren't getting disciplined anymore. Not that I'm like in advocating for, that's a different conversation, but kids are out of hand these days. That's my general opinion. Kids are fucking out of hand. Sorry, I shouldn't cuss, but they're out of hand, and they need
I mean, again, we could go into this in a different, even more in depth at a different time. But I get what you're saying, because I feel like, and I don't know if, I know that the whole Gen Z, and I believe some teenagers are probably under, I don't know what's under Gen Z, what's the younger, what they're called. But
yeah, I don't know either.
But I feel like, you know, as millennials, we are both millennials, but I feel like, I don't know about you specifically, but when we went to the movies, it was like we went as a group, but it was like we got excited, we waited in line, we got our seats, we got our snack. Like it was like, and if like, and I hated when people talked. Like if somebody would have talked, they'd be like, put your phone away, we're not talking. And I just feel like we were just raised going to the movies differently. And now obviously we didn't have streaming, we didn't have this kind of same experience. So maybe they just don't have, this is gonna make me sound like an old lady, but they don't have the respect for the movie theater.
I don't think they do.
And that freaking pisses me off, because, okay, and I'm just going to say, one thing to say is movie tickets aren't cheap.
No.
At all anymore. I mean, there's like this one thing from my house that's like $8, and there's like discount days and stuff. But like sometimes if you want to see it in like XD and you get popcorn, by the time you like, it's like $20. So if I'm gonna spend,
or more, perhaps.
Or more. Especially if you get like, now they have a lot of theaters have alcohol and stuff. So like if you're going and I'm paying this much and there's kids on their phone, if there's kids talking, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like, and I totally agree with that. Like, it's just a different generation. They're seeing movies differently now. Maybe they're used to like streaming movies at home and talking and whatever. And they maybe that translates to how they behave in a public theater, where like, I agree. When I was a kid, I mean, like, yeah, I would get excited about going to the movies. And I'd be chatty outside in the lobby and stuff like that. But once you're in the movie, as far as I can remember, I was always respectful of the actual movie, because like, you know, when people scream together, that's different. Like reacting together as an audience is different than having side conversations or like cheering together. You and your group, like cheering. Cause like, that's the thing too. Like the people that went to go see this movie, Minions 2, whatever, was either apparently teenage boys and or just regular families. And the regular families, I imagine, are probably pretty upset, because like these are like little kids that want to go see it and stuff like that. The only thing I'll say, maybe a little bit in defense of these obnoxious teenagers. Oh yeah,
because I do have an opposing thing.
I was just gonna say, maybe you're gonna make the same point. It's like, look, the Minions / Despicable Me saga or era, I should say, has spanned multiple years now. Like these Despicable Me movies got started like what, maybe a decade ago at this point,
if not longer. Came out in 2010.
There we go. That's what I'm saying. So over a decade ago, this is when the series got started, and that's when these teenagers / like young 20 somethings were like children themselves. So they've been kind of following along the whole time. And Minions 1 came out in 2015. Despicable Me 3 came out in 2017. So it's been like 5 to 7 years since the last pair of these movies came out. So it's like I get it. It's like it's an event. It's like you're trying to make a funny thing out of it, especially now that TikTok is popular. And this is just like this is perfect fodder for like some stupid TikTok trend. So I get 100%. It. Like I can understand why the teenagers jumped on it. Whatever, they're excited. I'm not trying to poo-poo their good time. Well, the moment you start infringing on other people's good time as well, that's a problem. And it's crazy to me that like some of these kids apparently don't seem to acknowledge that or recognize that. But again, with that said, I get it. They were kids. Now they're older. They kind of want to close the loop and whatever, but just shut up. Like, shut up if you're in the theater. Like, that's all I have to say about that. But anyway, what were you going to say?
I actually was going to say something a little different. So I agree with what you're saying, because that's a good point. Because it, you know, we don't know if it was just for the TikTok or they actually had an interest to see the movie and it was
right. Maybe it's a little bit of both. Right.
Maybe it's a little bit of both, or maybe some people in the group actually wanted to see it and some people were just doing it for the TikTok. You don't know.
Right.
But I thought first, I like when I was like preparing for today and you know, thinking about about my takes on everything, and you know, I totally at first was just like, as a moviegoer, I would hate this. I'd be so annoyed, kind of what we were saying. But then I really thought about the box office, how it broke the record for July 4th.
Yeah.
And I thought as a moviegoer, like if I was there, I would be annoyed. and I'd be like, oh God, especially if I had a kid. Again, I don't have any kids, but especially if I had a kid and brought my kid there and there were these teenagers, who know if they were saying, what they were yelling,
Right.
But as a movie lover, I kind of have a different point of view on this, because during the pandemic, seeing so many theaters close temporarily and then some of them close permanently.
Yeah.
Which was heartbreaking, right? Like anytime I see a theater, like, thank you for the years. Like I saw one a couple months ago and it like broke my heart.
Yeah.
That stuff was hard.
The Landmark out here in LA recently closed over on Pico.
God, I know, but that Cinerama is coming. I think Cinerama, that one's coming back.
That's
which
cool.
is great.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. But yeah, seeing that stuff was just, especially some of these like theaters that are like rooted in a city's history, like the Landmark,
Yeah.
So that said, recently, and I say recently in the past couple months, this year, I would just say this year, when films are starting to break records and people are going back to the movies, and you see all these records being broken, like highest, weekend since, 2019, and, longest opening weekend, biggest Thursday, whatever.
Which has been happening lately. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like more and more. I think it was last week, the week before, there was like 4 films that earned over a certain amount. It was like Elvis, Top Gun, and I was like, that's awesome. Like it just makes me, it warms my heart. It makes me so happy. So despite this Gentleminions thing, I feel like we're being critical of it. However, they still went to the movies. They still bought a ticket. They still broke this box office record.
Right.
And so I can't be so mad. I have to take some like pleasure in that they contributed to this box office record.
Totally.
I don't like to admit that, but I have to think about it that way, because it's overall, when it comes to theaters, it is helpful.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds like you're saying that the good outweighs the bad in this situation.
Yeah.
And I agree. It's true. Like the fact that they went in and of itself seems to be kind of saving / helping theaters. So maybe it's like the greater good or something. I see what you're saying.
The big picture.
The big motion picture. Right.
Big motion picture.
Right.
I feel like it is a good thing, but like
totally.
Wish it didn't happen. I wish it was just them going to the movies, not doing all this shit.
If it was just them going to the movies,
that would have been the perfect scenario.
Totally, it would have been a very heartfelt story, and frankly, one that we would not have talked about. I'm glad we're only talking about this because of the controversy. Let's just be honest. But
totally.
But yeah, I hear you. Like it's good that they went to the theaters.
How to point that out
for the rowdy kids who are talking too much and yelling. They need to just shush. Anyway, with that, we'll go ahead and move on to our next segment, Casting a Light. And this one's kind of a big story. And it's been years sort of in the making of flirting with this idea. And now Taron Egerton, am I pronouncing it correct?
It's Egerton. I actually looked it up.
Is it Egerton?
It's Egerton. I looked it up.
That's even more annoying. Egerton? Oh my God. Egerton is fine, but like, anyway, Taron Egerton seems to be kind of confirming that he's down to play Wolverine next, in succession to Hugh Jackman. And he's kind of playing coy, and he's been playing coy for a long time now. Dating,
which I didn't know about, by the way. I never knew there was
this has been a rumor, I guess, or like a fan thing
casting,
fan casting for years now. And he's been asked about it before, but now Taron Egerton to the New York Times says, in fact, I have the quote here. Let me just pull this up. He says, they ask him like, oh, like, do you want to play Wolverine? And he says, quote, I don't think it would be wrong to say that. I'd be excited, but I'd be apprehensive as well, because Hugh is so associated with the role that I'd wonder if it'd be very difficult for someone else to do it. And then he kind of does like a nod and a wink sort of thing. And he says, quote, but hopefully if it does come around, they'll give me a shot. And look, I mean, to me, and essentially what he's saying there is, and I think there's another quote in there somewhere within this interview where he basically confirms he has been in talks with Marvel executives. He's spoken to Marvel about playing Wolverine. That's the headline here.
Yeah. So basically, like the New York Times said, they wrote, he also hopes to succeed Jackman as the next Wolverine and has met with Marvel studio executives, including the company's president, Kevin Feige. And then he said, I don't think it'd be wrong to say that. So I thought it was interesting that they even brought it up.
Yeah, it's kind of I mean, it's the way that whole thing is laid out is very weird, right? Like it's like
very bizarre.
They pull the quote out, and he goes, "I don't think it'd be wrong to say that." Like, say what? Like, can we get the quote of what was asked, and then get the quote of the response? It's just so ridiculous.
It could be wrong to say that he met with them.
That's what I'm saying. It's just
or that he wants to be Wolverine.
Yeah, the way it's written, I think, is purposely meant to be ambiguous.
Of course,
but I think like what most everyone is running with, and the takeaway from this is that he's met with Kevin Feige and he's met with Marvel, and that the possibility of playing Wolverine seems to actually be in play. It seems to actually be like something that is being discussed and kicked around a little bit. And like, he's over here trying to be all Mr. Bashful, like, well, I mean, it'd be so hard to follow up Hugh and stuff like that. But hey, if they call me, I guess I wouldn't say no. That's kind of what he's saying. It's just so like, God damn, first of all, I want to say something. It would be a terrible decision to cast Taron in this role, because one, I just don't think he like looks the part. Like he to me doesn't look the part. That said, that like objectively, yes, he's like shorter. He's like 5'9". Wolverine traditionally in the comics is also a shorter, buffer character. But he's just, I don't know, like unless you're gonna do a young Wolverine, like Hugh Jackman looks like a grown man. That's what Wolverine is. He's a grown ass, buff, like, man, like with like a beard and like chest hair and Taron Egerton to me, frankly, looks like a child. He looks like a little kid. And even when he was playing Elton John in the biopic, which is okay, even with all of the hair and the makeup that they did on him, making him look bald and stuff, I thought he looked too young for that too. He looks like a child. He doesn't have he's got too much of a boyish charm about him that I just don't think is a good fit. Plus, I don't like his whole I don't know. I just don't like his personality in general, but that's just me. I'm picky. I don't think he's very, whatever. That's different. His personality is different, but he just doesn't look the part for me. And it's sort of disheartening to me, at least, to hear that one, they're talking about it. And two, more than likely, I think they're going to cast him. They're probably going to cast him for the role, which sucks. Like, he's undeserving of it. I don't know. Am I crazy, or what do you think?
Okay, so I have like several thoughts on this. So first of all, I think I need to mention, full disclosure, I've said several times on this podcast that I'm a bandwagon Marvel fan, but I haven't seen all of the X-Men films. I think I've seen 2, including Logan. But I know enough about Wolverine, enough about the character, like you were saying, manly, has to be buff and, have all those characteristics. I've seen Logan, so that's enough. I also didn't know. The other thing is, I also didn't know that there were casting rumors about him in the past.
Oh yes! Oh my God!
And we actually have a clip.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Let's actually throw to that clip. This was an interview with Yahoo Entertainment from a couple years ago,
2019, I believe.
2019 of Taron addressing these Wolverine rumors back then.
I gotta ask you about these rumors circulating around Hollywood. I know you must have heard these by now, that you're gonna be the next Wolverine. Is there a morsel of truth? Where did these come from? Can you say anything about it?
It's unfounded. The only morsel of truth to it is that I'm a huge fan of the films, like 99.9% of the rest of the world. That's kind of all there is to it, really.
So yeah, there's Taron, and kind of what I was saying earlier, him kind of being coy and like, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm a big fan of them. That he's doing the same shit there too. So he's continuing with this same little routine that he has of like Mr. Bashful, Mr. like, well, I don't, I'm not. I just can't stand this guy. But please, anyway, thank you for tossing that clip. We almost glossed over it, but go on with your point. Continue with your point, please.
Yeah. Okay. So I agree with you in that I don't really see it. I mean, I have only seen Taron in Rocket Man. I think that's the only film I've seen him in. Yeah. And I liked Rocket Man. Was the best biopic? No. But
and I should mention real quick too. Sorry to interrupt, but he has some bona fides. He's got a bit of a resume. Yeah, right? Kingsman. He was in Robin Hood, so he's got some like movies where he can play like a little bit of a hero type character. So I guess in that respect, yeah. But like anyway, I just want to mention that he's got some other movies under his belt where he plays like an action hero of sorts.
Yeah, and that's why I just had to mention that I haven't really seen him in other stuff, but obviously I even just from Rocket Man, I could tell that he has talent. Like he definitely has acting chops, and you're right, he's been in the other action flicks where he's played a hero and he's done that sort of thing. But and I think when I think of, like I said, physically, I feel like I don't really see it. But then I think I go on back what I've said several times, where I say that I often get annoyed when it comes to a biopic, or just bring a biopic, or when it comes to a comic book character, any character, when we know what like the original looks like, I guess, as a comic book, for biopic, it's the real person, that sort of thing. And people are often like, they don't look like them. I don't look like them. This actor would have been better.
Right.
I often get annoyed because it's like, okay, I don't know why I often get like defensive of the casting. I don't even know like anything about casting, but I often get defensive because I think, well, like and then because you had, even with like, I bring up Elvis as an example, people are like, oh my God, Austin Butler doesn't look like Elvis. Da, 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 da. Okay, right. They can do so much with special effects, with makeup and hair, and especially for even just Wolverine. Think of Wolverine. Hugh Jackman is very, he's a happy, like very like charming, almost like very sweet demeanor. And then he's Wolverine. You know what I mean?
Right.
That said, I feel like you have to have a little bit at least to be the character. Do you get what I'm saying in that sense?
A little bit
like
of what?
I feel,
a little bit what?
Like you need, like, while I think they can do a lot to make the actor look like the character, you still have to have like, basics.
Like an essence or something.
Yeah. And the essence, ultimately, that's like, what the acting comes to play. But when it comes to like looks wise and stuff,
I agree.
You have to
have a taste of the looks. I get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so
right.
I don't really see like any of that in him.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
So I had to mention that. And then, but again, like I say that now, but then like who knows if they like can do some like movie magic, and then I'll be like, well, that's why I feel like I have to just cast some doubt on my criticism, if that makes sense. Just
no, I
so,
get
like,
it. Yeah, because I mean, like, look, like let's just say they choose him, he gets super beefed out, like in buff or whatever, and works out, and they do something with his hair, and he grows a beard or something, or whatever, and then all of a sudden he like poses in the costume, and maybe he does look like Wolverine more. You know what I mean? So like it's sure, like he can, I suppose.
Exactly is what I'm
Hollywood
trying to say,
can make anybody look like anybody. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. And I think that people often forget that. However, this all said, I still think that they could find someone better.
Yeah, I agree. And like,
and I'm confident. Like, I mean, Kevin Feige knows what he's doing. I know you're not a big Marvel fan, but Kevin Feige knows what he's doing. So I feel like
lately that's been in question with Phase 4, but anyway.
True. That is true. But when it comes to like, when it comes to casting, I mean, obviously they haven't really done anything with X-Men yet. So maybe he doesn't know what he's doing with X-Men.
Right.
But one thing that I did want to point out, that I think is a little odd about this. I mean, we said the way it was addressed was kind of weird. But I think it's weird because I feel like one thing that Marvel is known for is their secrecy when it comes to rumors and casting. Like there's rumors often, like a lot of stuff, think of like Spider-Man No Way Home, like that stuff came out. But like Andrew Garfield, for example, he lied the entire time until that film came out. He lied. And I think if Taron has really spoken with Kevin Feige about Wolverine, I think I don't think it's a good look for him to be talking about it at all. I
agree.
Because I feel like he hasn't even been cast yet.
Yeah,
like, that's not good. That's not a good look for him. But again, obviously, I'm assuming he got some. I don't know. I feel like, and obviously he hasn't signed an NDA, I'm assuming, but the fact that he even like grinned or like alluded to it, I think that's like kind of risky.
It is. And like, it's weird because it's like one of two things. It's like one, either Kevin Feige's on the same page and told him, hey dude, kind of start doing some nods, do some nods and some winks, start planting the seeds for this. But considering his MO thus far, meaning Kevin Feige, and how secretive he is and how serious he takes leaks and how serious he takes casting decisions, you're right. Like he's been like an ironclad clamp lately. Like he usually avoids that type of strategy, right?
100%.
So you're right. With that in mind,
that's why
it kind of makes you wonder, like, well, is Taron just going rogue here? Is he just trying to kind of like say something to put it out there to maybe put pressure on Marvel or something, or to create false rumors that aren't actually true? Or, you know what I mean? Like I'm sure he has met with them a little bit, but like, maybe it's not as far along as he's making it seem here. You know what I mean? Because go ahead.
No, and maybe like, I mean, I didn't go deep into people's like reactions for this actually, which I usually do that. I apologize I didn't do that. But like, from what I see, I don't think there was a lot of people like thrilled with this.
I don't think so either. I don't think
And I
people
feel
are,
like,
yeah.
and I don't know if maybe he was hoping because let's be real, fans do have a lot more pull these days than they probably should.
Yeah.
But I think that I don't know if he was hoping that maybe
He'd be fan cast.
yes,
Like
it'd be like some sort of John Krasinski situation.
yeah, like a viral fan cast. I was when the news kind of broke over, like was it like last Friday going into the weekend? I was kind of monitoring Twitter to see if that would happen because that tends to happen a lot. I didn't see it. I wasn't seeing
Either did
Taron.
I. Okay, so
yeah,
I wasn't
seeing Taron. No, I wasn't seeing Taron and Wolverine trending. I saw other. If Wolverine trends did pop up, it was other people that they wanted. Like, no, not Taron. Do this guy. Do this guy.
Exactly. Okay.
It was all these other actors.
Go deep enough. Yeah.
No, so he was not. You're right. You're right. Like online or at least on Twitter, from what I could see, he was certainly not the fan favorite pick to do this. And it's weird because like no other actor is really coming forth as strongly as he is and speaking on it, and no one else is really being asked about it as much as he is. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Daniel
I feel like
Radcliffe's the only one that I know that has been slightly asked about it. I know you.
God, Daniel Radcliffe
like,
would be worse than Taron. Jesus Christ, no.
At least he can have a beard.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, get Tom Hardy up in there, dude. He's kind of Wolverine-y. Like he's small and buff and shit.
But I also think, I know we're running out of time here, but one thing that I want to mention is I feel like we have obviously have no idea what they're going to be doing with the X-Men, and I feel like we have no idea what, like you had mentioned this, what age.
True.
X-Men,
I mean,
what age the Wolverine's going to be.
We know that X-Men's going to be introduced eventually because they introduced Professor X in the new Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah.
So they're already laying the groundwork.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen. They're laying the groundwork for new characters like X-Men characters, Fantastic Four characters. So it's going to happen eventually. I just think Taron's not the guy, and
I agree.
So we'll leave it at that. And with that, we're going to move on to our next segment, the Hollywood Hoedown. Hollywood Hoedown. Hello, yay. We were gonna do James Cameron for this segment. Him basically telling people, hey, tough shit if you don't like long movies. Avatar 2 is gonna be long. We're not gonna do that one. Instead, we got to talk about Barbie like properly because I know you guys and we've sort of hopscotched around Barbie a little bit.
We've mentioned it a lot here and there.
We did the first look when the first set photo of Margot Robbie popped up, and then with Ryan Gosling as Ken. And I think you guys maybe a couple weeks ago or so, like briefly mentioned something.
We mentioned it.
We just need to we need to like properly talk about Barbie real quick because here's the new sort of angle that we're kind of getting in on with this. Emma
Mackey.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. Mackey. Emma Mackey. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Emma Mackey over the weekend seemed to have confirmed rumors, not even rumors, like straight up reports actually, like reports that what the Barbie movie is essentially going to be is multiple versions of Barbie. It's going to be Margot Robbie. It's going to be Issa Rae. There's Simu Liu is going to be like an Asian Ken. Like all this, like
these
different races and this and that. Like there's going to be different iterations of Barbie and Ken apparently in the movie. That's why this movie is so star-studded because you looked at the cast from the get-go and it was ridiculously packed. Like what are all these like A-list stars doing in this Barbie movie? Like A-listers. At least this many A-listers do not sign up for a movie like this just to play like cameo roles or supporting roles. That's not what they're there for. They're there to play big roles. So now Emma Mackey, who's in the movie as well, kind of seemingly confirmed that. And it's weird the way she sort of did it because she didn't really try to censor herself. And it seems like the publication she told, which is Empire Magazine, might have tried covering for her. So here's the quote. They're asked. She's quoted in a new issue that's coming out for Empire, and she says that she's talking about filming Barbie and like what the experience has been like. And she says about the cast getting together. She says, "quote Right in the beginning, we had a sleepover for the Barbies, plural, which would involve playing games with Scott Evans and Nakuti Gatwa." And she goes on to describe, like, I don't play games usually because I get so competitive, but Scott and I were on top of our game, blah, 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 whatever. And then she just goes on to kind of praise Greta Gerwig and how great of a director she is, yada, yada, whatever. But that first line is the key here.
There is a sleepover.
Right? We had a sleepover for the Barbies. What?
And she named
what are
two
you saying?
guys too. So basically, he's saying that there's alternate Kens.
There's alternate Kens. So
yeah.
And this was actually reported by the New York Times, I believe, like a while ago, when like the first rumblings of Barbie and like the cast was getting like put together. I believe it was Kyle. Was it Buchanan? Maybe. Kyle Buchanan of the New York Times. He's a film editor, film reporter. He reported that Issa Rae and all these stars, like, you know, we're going to be playing different versions of Barbie. So at the time, it was like a report / rumor. But now Emma Mackey, and I don't know if she did this unwittingly, but like she leaked it out. Like she kind of confirmed the leak, and I don't know why she did that. Because like now, and here's the thing, like what this sort of gets to. First of all, whether this is actually a good idea for a plot, having different versions of Barbie, yada.
We could talk.
I'll just quickly say, I mean,
okay,
we'll get to it because I want to make a larger point about what I think about the Barbie leaks and just kind of what's happening with Barbie. But like, on that issue, look, it's not that big of a deal. I know that there are different Barbies these days. They're trying to do representation. They're introducing all these different types of Barbies. That's all good and great. But I got to be honest, for the Barbie movie, and it's like supposed to be the quintessential Barbie movie, right? Barbie has always just been a white lady, like it's a white lady as a doll. Like that's what it is. And like, I'm not mad that there's like all these different versions of Barbies, but like it kind of waters down the brand, in my opinion, a little bit. And I know that's controversial, but I just think it does.
I get what you're saying.
It waters it down.
I get what you're saying, but I honestly, I feel like they're just going to be like, I think their roles are going to be very small. I definitely think that it's mainly going to be
Margot
Robbie
and
Ryan Gosling. If I had to guess, and then Will Ferrell, obviously, whatever he's being, So I think that these other characters are just going to be side characters, but I could be wrong, obviously, because we don't know anything.
Yeah, I mean, like you're right. It's either going to be that they're like different. Like I don't know what's going to happen. Like, is it going to be like Margot Robbie as Barbie, but then Barbie just changes into a different Barbie and that's the same character? Or is it going to be like, oh no, this is Barbie A, Barbie B, Barbie C? Like there's like just different types of Barbies. I just hope
that it's not some sort of multiverse thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like
that.
Yeah.
So
I
don't know. I guess we'll see. But I have to say, just flat out real quick, my overall thing, and again, I have some thoughts too about the leaks in general. I know you do as well.
Yeah.
But I just have to say that I will die on this hill. I stan Margot Robbie. I do like Margot Robbie, but I stan Greta Gerwig, and I'm confident and I fully support this film, and I know I'm gonna love it, even though some of the stuff seems a little like, again, why is multiple Barbies? What was this gonna be multiverse? What is this going on?
Right.
And I feel like anytime that I start to like have doubt, I'm like, I'm gonna love this movie. I'm confident that it's gonna turn out amazing, and I know I shouldn't get my hopes up, but I'm going to, because I am confident that it's going to turn out great.
That's actually a great segue, because it's almost like the movie itself is already playing out in public. That's what's going on. In addition to this Emma Mackey leak or whatever, slip up, whatever you want to call it, this movie is sloppy in terms of like keeping the lid on it. And like I think that just the whole production, everybody, the stars and the way they're shooting it and what they're doing, because as we've seen over the past couple weeks now, all these, you see Margot Robbie skating all over Venice Beach in public in front of everybody. You see them in the wacky outfits. You see Will Ferrell chasing them. Like, okay, I guess there's a chase scene that's going to happen. In fact, before I make a guy go on, let's actually play a quick little clip of a bystander who took a video of Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie being carted around Venice Beach last week in their 90s little neon outfits. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So there it is. I mean, look, like there's no attempt to conceal them. Nothing. Like it's like Greta and company and the studios like, screw it. Just show everybody what the costumes look like. Show everybody what the characters look like. Let's just shoot scenes out in the open. Like there's a lot of scenes that are going on. Like Margot Robbie getting hit in the butt. Ryan Gosling screaming, like
Margot Robbie's voice.
It's like, it's just everyone. It's just so like, what is going on? Like, do you guys not care about?
I know
a little bit of secrecy. Like, I'm not excited about this movie anymore because I've seen it already. I've seen the movie play out. It's like I don't even give a shit what else is going on. I've seen the gist of it. I don't know. The whole movie is just the way it was rolled out and the way it's being filmed right now. it's a disaster, frankly, because I really do think it's taking away the whole point of going to see a movie, especially like a movie like Barbie. Like, oh my God, like you want to know what it's going to look like. You know what I mean? You want to know like these things, and you ideally, at least I would think, I'm not a film executive, but at least I would think you'd want to keep some of that stuff under wraps because it builds excitement. And all this, even though maybe they think it's building buzz, and I guess you could argue it is because it's getting headlines, yada, yada, yada. But
it's trending.
The word is out. The cat is out of the bag on all the goods, I feel like, right? Is that, I'm not into this at all.
Okay. So I agree with you, some of what you said. So I think that I don't know why they had to film at Venice Beach. I obviously must have been part of the vision. If it was, I don't know why they couldn't have blocked it off. Or, you know, speaking of Marvel, they usually have like closed sets. They wear robes.
That's
like,
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
That. I don't think, and I don't like these leaks. I mean, yeah, I'm excited for the film, but I don't like seeing the costumes. I don't like seeing, unless they were like, they release official photos and stuff, or they have released a trailer. Like, I don't want to see that stuff yet. And yes, it's exciting to see it trending and stuff, but it's like too much. We're getting too much.
It is. It's an overload of
I
think
that
and
obviously like, it's not going to, I'm assuming it's not all set here because they had started filming like a few months ago, I believe. So obviously, like, I'm hoping this is just like maybe 2 scenes or something. Who knows? I'm hoping we're not getting like a key part in the film. But still, I feel like just getting one costume is a lot, especially for a film like this when the costuming is so important.
Right.
What I think they should have done, and this is what I think. So I like having a tease. Like, that's what trailers are for. That's what, you know, when they release a photo, you know, they give you a taste and then you start. But when we're getting all of this stuff, it's like, it's not, I don't like that it's not official. You know, I feel like almost it's like things we shouldn't be seeing because we shouldn't be seeing it.
And that's why I said earlier, sloppy. Like, this is, and I don't know if it's obviously purposely sloppy because like them making they're purposely or something. Yeah, they're like, purposely making these decisions to film it in Venice Beach, to film it without any concealment, to film it just hella out in the open, and they don't care if, you know, Baccarat and all these other photo agencies are getting everything. It's like they don't care. And like I don't know that I don't see whatever the master plan is, because I think they're obviously doing this on purpose. Whatever the master plan is, I don't see it. And I just think it's not working. It's just not working. What's the studio?
Do you know what the studio is?
I think it was. God,
is it Warner Brothers? Oh, it's Warner Brothers. Okay,
first, Warner Brothers. It was going to be with Sony at first, but now it's Warner. Now it's Warner. Yeah,
Warner Brothers. You would think of like what they do for like comic book stuff. When any of that gets seen, that shit's taken down within minutes.
Yep.
Okay, so that's a good point. I just thought of that because that stuff gets taken down so fast. So I don't know how these publications and these photo agencies and are able to post these and not get that are allowed to. I think
the answer is obvious. They're doing it in public and they're doing it on purpose. That's the answer.
They shouldn't have filmed in Venice. I think if they wanted to do something like that, they have to do it on a set. I mean, I guess it's cool to have like it must be somewhat important. I don't know. I'm assuming it's important, but like
it's part of the storyline or something.
But
it's
important enough to have all this come out. But one thing that I want to point out that I think that they should have done. So like I said, like I started to say, I like how, you know, they, you know, when they don't give a lot away. However, I think from what I feel like more often than not, when a film is announced or a casting is announced, they have a little log line or at least something. Not always, but often. And I feel like they should have released I know they have 2 official photos, but maybe just said something like, Barbie goes on an adventure, whatever, like a one-liner, just like a one-liner. And then people wouldn't be assuming all this stuff. And then, you know, Emma Mackey is like, I'm glad she confirmed something, but obviously she probably wasn't supposed to.
And that's the thing.
And so I feel like they should have released stuff official. Like here's a clip of a behind the scenes clip of them filming, like release that on the official Twitter account and then release a log line and then not shut everything down, but like make it so the other stuff doesn't come out, or at least attempt to take the other stuff down.
That's what I'm saying. Like the fact that
give some official stuff and then take the other stuff down.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the fact that they're not doing that because that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense because they're a professional studio. So everything they're doing, meaning the opposite of everything you just explained, is on purpose, but I don't understand the reasoning for it. Not yet, at least. And like, again, they obviously have something in mind with all this.
Yeah.
But I just don't see it and I don't get it. And I just think it's not working. So we'll see. I mean, obviously I'll see the movie when it comes out, which goes without saying because got to see every big movie around here. But as far as the general public and just their interest in it, I feel like by the time the movie comes up, people are like, yeah, I don't really give a shit about Barbie. I've seen the chases, I've seen the costumes, whatever. I'll just see the rest on Twitter or something. You know what I mean? Like the whole movie's playing out on Twitter at this point. It's crazy.
And we have to note this film, I'm pretty sure it comes out in July of next year.
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure it's July 2023. So like we need like hopefully they like when they're done filming, obviously, you know, this stuff's going to be out there, but hopefully they release again some sort of official thing to hold people over so they're not like trying to guess all this. I mean, I think people guessing of what the film's about and stuff is cool, but they need to like release some stuff officially so then people aren't feel the need to go nuts over this hidden stuff.
Totally. I agree.
Leaked stuff, sorry.
Right. Anyway, we will see what comes of it. We'll monitor. I just wanted to kind of air out my grievances with Barbie as well. With that, we'll go ahead and move on to our last segment. This one we'll keep short and sweet because, what'd you see? What'd you think? And look, like there weren't a whole lot of movies that came out this weekend in theaters. Minions was like the big one. I didn't see Minions. I'm not going to. There were other movies that I was going to attempt to go see. You remember the Marcel, the Shell?
Oh yes,
remember that? So there's a new movie out with that, and that's Jenny Slate. Like it started out in the 2010s as like this like little mini short, like not even short films, like just little mini short YouTube segments or whatever of like the Shell being hella cute and like, oh, you know what I use for skiing? Like toenails or something. It's cute.
I forgot that was out.
Yeah, so that movie is out, and apparently it's like a whole thing. He's like, Marcel's looking for his family, yada yada. I wanted to go see it. So I could not get around to going to see it. There's other movies I wanted to try and kind of go see. There's like an Antonio Banderas movie that's out right now with Penelope Cruz. It's a Spanish movie that's been getting some good reviews, but it's like at a theater super far away. I couldn't get out there. There's another one with Jessica Chastain and I forget the British actor's name. He plays Q. He's the new Q in the 007 movies.
Ben Whiteshaw? Ben Whishaw?
No, I forget his name, but it's Jessica Chastain. No, it's not. It's the older guy. I'm sorry, not Q, but M, right?
Oh, Ralph Fiennes. Ray Fiennes.
Yes, Fine. There he is. Ralph Fiennes, correct. Him and Jessica Chastain are in this new movie called The Forgiven. I could not go to see that either. What I ended up doing, well, first of all, I saw The Black Phone last week. And I know that's it's old news at this point because it's already been out a full week and a half, but that movie was bad. That's all I got to say about that. It does not live up to the hype that people had for it. The Black Phone, Ethan Hawke and everything. It tries to be like this, like really good horror movie, but it ends up being just cheap thrills. What I sort of ended up doing over the holiday weekend was just watching a ton of like 4th of July related movies. Like I saw Jaws again. That was really good. I was like, oh, because it's a 4th of July movie. I saw Forrest Gump just because it was like, it's like patriotic and stuff.
Yeah. And
I also saw a couple Tom Cruise movies, ones that I'd seen before, but I wanted to see again. A Few Good Men. Love that movie. In fact, that's kind of patriotic too, where he plays like I think it's like a naval lawyer or something. And he's like investigating a murder. And Jack Nicholson's like, you can't handle the truth. Classic. Love that movie. I also saw Eyes Wide Shut, which is like a good favorite of mine. I love Stanley Kubrick. And it's a Tom Cruise role where it's like, it's not in his usual wheelhouse. But the reason I saw some Tom Cruise movies and I might watch a few more this week is because Tom Cruise turned 60 this past weekend, right before the 4th of July.
No, I share a birthday with him.
Yeah, you do. Actually, yeah, it's on July 3rd. That's your birthday. Yeah. I need to see Born on the 4th of July, actually, because that would have been a perfect movie to see. Now that I think about it, I have yet to see that Tom Cruise movie. But I've seen a ton of Tom Cruise movies over the years. And, Magnolia is one of his best.
I have seen Magnolia. That's like,
it's so good.
Seen very many
Tom Cruise playing like the
I need to watch more, but I have
like the hype
Magnolia.
Man. He's like Tom Cruise is like very multifaceted. He's been in a ton of movies, and we did a story about him over the weekend, where the director for the new the Mission Impossible movie released this like behind the scenes stunt photo
Oh yes.
of Tom holding on from like the airplane and basically saying like, "Hey man, happy birthday." And it's just Tom Cruise really like is a novelty and a special kind of actor, especially for this generation. He's one of the last relics of like not even old Hollywood, because when you say old Hollywood, that brings you back to like black
classic,
and white,
like movie star.
like he's a classic
movie star.
Yes, that. Thank you for saying that succinctly. He is a classic grade A movie star, which I would argue does not exist anymore.
Like Brad Pitt, Leo,
like Brad. Yes, I'm saying like those,
yeah.
like those classic leading men who are like been in a ton of movies and that don't really do a whole lot of work these days. By the way, Brad Pitt is supposedly retiring. Super sad. But yeah, Tom Cruise. He's on top of the world. Top Gun passed $1 billion at the worldwide box office.
So that was like his first film to like,
the
highest grossing film he's
highest
ever
grossing
had.
film of Tom Cruise for the Top Gun sequel. Totally warranted. And I just think I know he's a weirdo because of the Scientology thing, and that's different. But like, just as a guy,
separating the art from the person.
Yeah, like just
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, but just him as like an actor and his craft, and just how much joy he takes in his profession, and frankly, what I think he's actually doing for the film industry right now, aka kind of saving it. Total like real life kind of superhero in my opinion. And like I just wanted to shout out Tom Cruise for his 60th birthday. I watched some Tom Cruise movies. I'm going to keep watching some. Probably some I haven't seen. I need to see those because there's a lot. But like Cocktails, I've never seen Cocktails. I know it's a classic, but never seen Cocktails. Risky Business, I've seen. I've seen a lot of Tom Cruise.
Jerry
movies.
Maguire.
Jerry Maguire's classic.
That's like the first R-rated movie I saw when I was a kid.
It's such a good movie. Show me the mic. Oh, it's just Tom Cruise is the best. Anyway, that's my little rant on what I saw this weekend. What did you watch, Paige?
So I saw Elvis again because my aunt and uncle wanted to see it.
I saw Elvis too, by the way. I don't want to talk about it too much, but okay, so you saw Elvis. Go on.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot last week.
I know, so I don't want to rehash it.
Yeah, but you can tell me real quick. You didn't like it?
Well, Austin Butler is the best thing about that movie. And his performance, totally Oscar worthy, and he became the character, and I was so impressed. And honestly, speaking of casting, Taron Egerton, terrible. Austin Butler, fantastic. Just whoever saw the vision for that.
And that pretty boy.
Well, I mean, he was always a pretty boy. Austin Butler's been a pretty boy his entire career. I know,
but to be Elvis.
Yes, right. Like whoever saw that vision.
Yeah.
My God, like spot on, the voice, the performance from him.
Dancing.
Yes, all of it. But the style of the movie and the pacing of it, I mean, I don't know. Like, and like with
do you like Baz Luhrmann movies?
I do like Baz Luhrmann, but I just don't think it fit this because me and like some people I talked to with movies, they were saying the same thing. They were like, yeah, I kind of felt like it was like a Wikipedia, like kind of like just beat through beat. And like there was no scene ever just kind of sunk in. Like you never really sunk into any given scene. They were in a scene and then they were out. They were moving on. They were going to a different scene. You know what I'm saying? Like every scene was just rolling and rolling. And no scene ever really, they never really sat with like Elvis.
I feel like there were several. I mean,
not too many extended ones. Not too many extended ones.
I get what you're saying, but
it felt like it was just kind of like zipping and zipping and zipping. It just kept moving. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I feel like there was. I mean, I do feel like, I guess it was, now looking back, I guess it was a little, I mean, I know it was fast paced, but I feel like there were scenes that, like one that really, like the two that really, actually three that really come to mind is like when Priscilla leaves him. I thought that scene had a lot of emotional depth.
The stairwell scene.
The stair scene. I wish, but I do think that they should have stayed with that a little longer.
Yeah, or honestly,
the scene of them in the car.
Yeah,
like, they could have stayed with that for a little longer.
Totally. And
like, but even when he's talking to his dad at the end before he
but even then getting into like, I mean, they did depict like his drug addiction and that doctor kept, but it was like so glossed over. You know what I mean? They're like. And they kind of just sort of alluded like, oh, yep, Elvis is into drugs now. He's into pills. And there's all of a sudden, but there was no like, I wanted like a heavier scene kind of depicting that. And there was no real heavy scene. It was just kind of quick glossing over, moving on. All right, Elvis is in drugs and we're rolling. It's like, okay, like, can we like sit with the scene for a second? Like, goddamn. But with that said, music, top notch. And the best parts of the movie were when Elvis was performing, when Austin Butler was performing. And especially at the end, when he was like fat Elvis. Because even when Austin Butler was doing the Vegas Elvis chapter of his life, I was like, when is he gonna get fat? Like he's still hella skinny. I want to see fat Elvis. And then finally at the end, he was like Fat Elvis and he had all the prosthetics.
Yeah.
And he's like singing like Unchained Melody. That was actually super emotional because I was like, God damn, that's just so sad. Because Elvis
That's when I cried.
Yeah, like
Elvis
Elvis was truly just like such a talent. And it's just such a shame that he never did the world tour that he wanted to do. He always stayed domestic. He got locked up in Vegas for bullshit. And yeah, like that sucks. And I never knew that actually until the movie.
I didn't know anything about Colonel Tom.
Yeah, Colonel,
Parker.
Who's not even a colonel apparently. He's like some Holland or some Austrian motherfucker. Or anyway. But anyway, what else did you watch besides Elvis this weekend?
So I know we're running out of time, but real quick, I did watch to prepare for Love and Thunder this upcoming week. It's already Wednesday. It's already Wednesday. So later this week, I watched Thor Ragnarok, which is one of my like top 5 favorite favorite MCU films.
Right.
And it was the first one that Taika did. It's campy, it's funny, it's odd, it's completely different from other MCU films. It really stands out. I like the new characters. I like everything. I watched it so many times, and last night I was like cracking up because there's so many things that I think the jokes still are funny a couple years later.
Right.
It's been a few years later. It's been out for a few years now.
Right.
This is like before Endgame, before Black Panther even too. So it's been out for a while. I think it was 2017. But anyways, the jokes I still think they still are just as funny today, but maybe that's just me. However, apparently if you like this one, it's similar. Obviously Taika wrote and directed Love and Thunder. But it's getting
the reviews are coming in mixed essentially. Yes. That's the reviews for Love and Thunder are out. The movie's coming out this weekend. The reviews are already out. It's mixed. It doesn't have that great of a Rotten Tomatoes score. I think it's like 69 or 70%.
It's like 70. It's like 71. Right. I tried right before we started.
I gotta say that's not great.
It's like 71, whereas Ragnarok was 93.
Yeah, and I was reading some of the reviews.
So I'm like, damn it! Like, how is it going to be that big of a difference?
I was reading some of the reviews, and I actually tweeted about this yesterday. People were saying that it's just a ton of gags, a ton of like extended bits, and a ton of just like stupid little quippy jokes and shit. Like just them trying to be funny every scene. It's like, can we just we just like do a Thor scene or like a regular? And I was just like I'm not a Thor guy. I'm not a Marvel guy, but I was happy to hear that the new Thor apparently is bad. That's what they're saying. It's not great. Of course
you're happy about it.
Yes.
Well, but I have to say, because that's what Thor Ragnarok did so well, is it really had, in my opinion, it really had the balance between the humor and the campy and with traditional MCU things. You have to have that in there. There was Kate Blanchett was the villain, and she was a great villain. They had that balance. They had the fight scenes. They had Thor being Thor. In mixed in with the humor,
right?
But it seems like from what I've read too that Thor Love and Thunder, it's short. It's like under 2 hours, which is short for a Marvel film.
Yep,
it's like an hour and 40 or something like that. And then apparently there wasn't enough of like Gore the God Butcher, Christian Bale's character. I think I read something along those lines,
which is a shame because people were praising.
I was so excited for that. Like we need a lot of that. Like so I'm like, so it seems like what I liked about Thor Ragnarok, the balance is not just going to be the same. And
if anything, it's just going to be just a bunch of goofballs just being goofballs throughout the whole movie. And also, I mean, like I'm going to see the movie. We'll talk about it properly next week.
Yeah.
But it once again, speaking of Marvel, it just really, I think this solidifies Kevin Feige. Either he doesn't know what he's doing, or he's like pretending like he knows what he's doing. But in any case, there's no direction. Like, what is going on with Marvel? Like, what the hell are you guys doing right now? Like, who's the big bad? What is happening? Why should I care about any of this? What is going on? Like, thus far, it sounds like Kevin Feige is screwing the pooch on that, but we will see.
We'll talk about more about that next time. We've talked about it a little bit with Multiverse of Madness, but we'll refer back to that and add more to that next week after we watch Thor Love and Thunder.
Totally. So with that, that's a great way to get out. Thank you guys for tuning in. Check us out on Spotify, YouTube, iHeart, Apple. We're on the website too. Also, I want to encourage people, respond in the comments, and we will actually go out of our way and actually address some comments. We will go out of our way to do that. That's a new thing we're going to try to do. Yeah. So fire away, good or bad. We're happy to hear it all.
We'll take the criticism. We'll take the praise. Give us whatever you're thinking.
Totally. And we will check in with you guys next time. Take it easy.
Bye.